I say all that to say, that's how trans people make me feel.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering. I hope you're having an absolutely wonderful day. Happy New Year 2024. Back at work, back at the grind. The old go to work, go home. Go to work, go home on the slow grind to death that we all know and love. I hope you're having a great day. Interesting new, I guess, unexpected drop of a new Dave Chappelle special on Netflix. And of course, everybody is absolutely losing their minds. There must have been 100 articles written within moments of the release after Dave Chappelle absolutely eviscerates a lot of the ideologies behind the trans community, absolutely crushes a lot of the nonsense out there. And the media obviously can't handle it. At this point, if you're a comedian, it's like just put a trans joke in your setup, and you're clearly going to get millions of dollars in free press. Like the media simply cannot figure out that they're being played endlessly by these comedians. But it is the mainstream media, and of course that means they are inhabited by buffoonery. Just a couple of the articles. Dave Chappelle's new Netflix special sparks backlash for trans jokes. Dave Chappelle targets trans community and disabled people. Now, in 2024, 2023, really modern times, a joke about something used to be a joke about something, but now you're targeting them, right? You make fun of white people, they wouldn't be writing endless articles about targeting white people. And by the way, Rolling Stone, Dave Chappelle's The Dreamer proves he's obsessed with trans people. Dave Chappelle continues to mock trans people. Dave Chappelle makes fun of Lil Nas X and Netflix Dreamer and says he wanted him in the music video. Well, Lil Nas X is a demonic plant weirdo. Ian Thomas Malone, The Dreamer is a pathetic mess of a man who simply doesn't care anymore. Dave Chappelle mentions trans people again. I mean, there are numerous articles about it. And part of the reason is two of the jokes that he told about them were absolutely vicious, right on target. And I'm not sure I'll be able to play the entire thing, but it'll be great. Let's look at some of the backlash, of course. You have Business Insider writing, Dave Chappelle has another stand-up special on Netflix, and he hasn't backed down from, quote, punching down. By the way, there is not one single group of people in the West, I'll say, obviously, in the West, in America, UK, Canada, the group of people with the most power in society, societal cachet, is trans people. So it's actually punching up, if you really want to understand what they're trying to say. They're trying to say that trans people are somehow beneath him, a black man. No. Not sure if Dave Chappelle's been invited to the White House numerous times, but there's certainly been dozens of trans people invited there, but that's neither here nor there, I guess. In The Dreamer, which dropped December 31st, he takes shots at the trans and gay communities as well as disabled people. Oh no. Tonight I'm doing all handicap jokes, he says. They're not as organized as the gays, and I love punching down. That was the whole joke, by the way. Chappelle doesn't waste time. I think he opened the set with this joke. In the very first 12 minutes of the hour-long special, his 7th exclusive for Netflix, despite saying he doesn't do trans jokes anymore. He also touches on Will Smith and Chris Rock and the time he was tackled himself at the Hollywood Bowl in the very same year. I remember that. The Dreamer builds on Chappelle's controversial 2021 special, The Closer, in 2019 Sticks and Stones, when Chappelle joked about trans people, Michael Jackson's accusers, and the hashtag #MeToo, among other topics. Netflix employees walked out in the 2021 after Chappelle's The Closer, but the blowback didn't even have any impact. But yeah, I think, if I remember correctly, the one weirdo that was, ahead of the movement ended up getting fired for leaking information, and that was about it. Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos initially defended Chappelle's specials, citing artistic freedom, but later then acknowledged he screwed up and not acknowledging the pain that they call some of the employees. It's this wild thing. I hopefully in the year of our Lord 2024, we will finally have people realize that you actually don't have to watch it. You don't have to watch it. You could just not watch the Netflix special and have it not affect you in any way, shape, or form. Question of whether comedians should, quote, punch down, that is, make jokes about less privileged or marginalized groups. Bro, nobody has more privilege than trans people. It's just a fact. If you're offended by that, open up the internet and watch any one of these trans people shove a camera in someone's face and ruin their lives. I mean, do you remember that Delta employee last week? Bet you that guy gets fired. There is not a single group that I can think of that has more ability to act the fool in public and have received absolutely zero consequences, whether societal or judicial. I mean, heck, biological men can just say they want to go to women's jail and they let them do that. Netflix has found a lane with other, quote, anti-woke comedy specials lately, including those of Ricky Gervais and Matt Rife. It's not anti-woke. It's just comedy. That's what these people keep always trying to say. Well, it's anti-woke. It's anti-woke. Well, I mean, yes, I suppose, but it isn't like Dave Chappelle's anti-woke special. It's just a comedy special that tells jokes that, don't dance around things that they're not supposed to talk about. So really, the wokeness movement is really just a censorship movement. Always has been. While the media coverage criticized the Dreamer as lazy, the audience seems to be eating it up. Shocking. 2 days in, the Dreamer has an 85% score on Rotten Tomatoes, in the neighborhood of his other recent specials. Gervais and Rife didn't score so well, with 61 and 18. I mean, Rife, you knew he was going to get a bad rap on his because he already had courted, a lot of these, woke Gen Z. His entire audience was built on TikTokers. So, I mean, yeah, they're not going to like it. Dave Chappelle, 85%. Again, there's only 250 ratings. I suspect it will continue to rise up after this backlash. In one of the jokes, I don't know how much of it I can tell, but I'll paraphrase, okay, because otherwise Netflix will claim this. The very first joke in Dave Chappelle's new special, The Dreamer, is about the ridiculousness of being pressured to go along with the lies of transness.
And what Norm did.
So I'll paraphrase. It's a 3-minute lead up to an absolute cannon blast at the end. He talks about how he had lost his father and he was inconsolable, extremely sad, right? And the only person that was able to pull him out of it was Norm Macdonald. Norm Macdonald had offered to introduce Dave Chappelle to one of his all-time, greats, somebody he looked up to a lot, in Jim Carrey, because Norm Macdonald was filming a film with Jim Carrey at the time. That particular film was called, I think, Man on the Moon or something like that. It was an Andy Kaufman movie. And Chappelle talks about how, he got to, since his father is dead, it was the first time he was ever excited. He admired him. He also admired Andy Kaufman, but that Jim Carrey was so immersed in the role from that film that he was living as Andy Kaufman. So when Dave Chappelle went to meet him, he was still, you had to call him Andy, not Jim. So everybody in the crew was telling him, hey, you got to tell him it's Andy Kaufman. You got to know all this stuff. So he went there and he was extremely disappointed. Hey, how you doing, Andy? He would say, he then says, now in hindsight, how effing lucky I am that I got to see one of the greatest of all times immersed in one of the most challenging processes ever, he wrote. Very lucky to have seen that. I'll play the last couple seconds here. Hopefully Netflix will let it.
But as it was happening, I was very disappointed.
He says, because I wanted to meet Jim Carrey, not Andy Kaufman.
And I had to pretend this nigga was Andy Kaufman all afternoon. And he was clearly Jim Carrey. I could look at him and I could see he was Jim Carrey. Anyway, I say all that to say, that's how trans people make me feel.
I mean, it's pretty light. It's pretty light, you know? And again, I know I have trans viewers, and I suspect, well, if you watch me and you're trans, you probably think that joke's funny too. There's something like pretty empowering, I think, about acknowledging whatever it is that you're going through, right? I'm overweight, okay? It's 2024. I'm doing my dry January. I got 1 day in. I started intermittent fasting today, which I guess looks pretty easy today. So all I have to do is not eat from 10 p.m. till 8 a.m. But I know it'll get more difficult. But like, there's something about kind of just owning who you are, right? I can make jokes about, people are like, oh man, aren't you hot? Are you sweaty or something? I'd be like, man, bro, I sweat when I roll out of bed in the morning, or whatever the case is. Like, I assume that trans people can do the same thing. They can understand that, yeah, I get it, and it's funny. Like, people who are comfortable in their own skin or can at least acknowledge it. And, I think that people bring up the George Orwell quote, in a time of deceit, telling the truth is in fact a revolutionary act. And of course, Dave Chappelle mentions, I mean, these people he's like the puppet master. I mean, he said, what do you want to do when you grow up? Lil Nas X said that guy stood up in front of a whole class, Chappelle said, and said, I want to be the gayest N-word that ever lived. I want to do a music video and slide down a stripper pole all the way down to the depths of hell and hook up with the devil. 10 o'clock BET while all the kids are awake can see me. Shockingly, that was the only dream that ever worked out. Like, absolutely roasting Lil Nas X, by the way. 100% here for that. Again, I'm not like a weirdo about music. I remember when I was young, oh, Madonna, ooh, Guns N' Roses, rock and roll music, blah, 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 blah. I get it. But to deny that there is some, cultural impact for that, it's some planning for that. I suspect Lil Nas X will long disappear after the media is done with him pushing their message. I'm sorry, the message. Although my voice changer thing doesn't work. But I mean, it spawns all of these articles mostly because everything Dave Chappelle said is 100% right. Go check out Dave Chappelle's The Dreamer on Netflix now. Let me know what you think if you've already seen it in the comment section down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.